The courtroom didn't feel like a place of justice that morning. It felt like a storm waiting to break. The ceiling lights buzzed with a faint electrical hum, casting a pale glow over rows of wooden benches packed with strangers who felt like they all suddenly belonged to the same tense silence. Reporters leaned forward with their pens hovering midair. Officers lined the back wall, arms folded, jaws tight, as if even they didn't trust where this was going. Cameras clicked. Microphones waited. Nobody spoke louder than a whisper. And in the middle of it all sat a 3-year-old girl. Emily Carter's tiny legs dangled off the polished wooden bench, not long enough to reach the floor. Her shoes were pink, scuffed, and slightly mismatched, the way only a child's shoes ever could be when dressed in a hurry. Her soft brown hair was tied with a ribbon too big for her head. In one hand she clutched a stuffed rabbit, worn, faded, and missing one ear, like it was the only anchor steady enough in a world suddenly too big for her. She shouldn't have been here. Everyone silently agreed on that. Her mother sat beside her, hands shaking even though she tried to hide it. A counselor rested a reassuring hand on her back, but reassurances felt useless here. Nothing about today felt calm or controlled or predictable. Across the room stood the figure that had once been a symbol of pride. A German shepherd named Tyson. He wore his police vest, shiny badge sewn proudly into the fabric. His ears were tall and alert, posture disciplined, the image of everything a heroic K9 should have been. Children usually smiled at him. Adults admired him. He had been on posters, news reports, community parades. He had medals carved with his name. But today, Tyson didn't feel like a hero in the room. Today, he felt like a secret waiting to be revealed. He sat at his handler's side, Officer Mark Reynolds, a man known for his solid posture and clean reputation. Reynolds' jaw was set, shoulders squared so hard it looked painful. His hand stayed tight around Tyson's leash, knuckles white. He kept telling himself nothing would happen. He kept telling himself the child wouldn't matter. He kept telling himself dogs didn't talk and toddlers didn't understand. But even he didn't look convinced. The judge finally entered, his robe sweeping behind him like a shadow. The courtroom rose, then sat again at his command. Even his normally steady voice cracked with unease. This court is now in session. A brief hush fell so deep that even the air felt still. Everyone already knew why they were here. Not the official reason, not the legal language printed neatly on documents. No, the real reason hung thick and unspoken. What did the little girl know? More frighteningly, what did the dog remember? The prosecutor stood first, glancing briefly toward Emily. He softened for half a second before hardening again into duty. Your Honor, the testimony we're requesting today is unconventional, but necessary. A scoff echoed from the defense table. She's 3, the defense attorney said, shaking his head. We're entertaining children's stories now. Imagination under oath. What's next? Imaginary friends being cross-examined. A few people actually laughed, but the laughter was nervous, forced, uncertain. The judge didn't smile. Instead, he turned his gaze toward Emily. She didn't fidget. She didn't cry. She simply stared, not at the judge and not at the lawyers, but at Tyson. The dog's ears twitched. Something flickered in his eyes, a memory, a recognition, a ghost no one could see. His chest rose deeper, his breathing slowed. And for one chilling second, it looked like he knew exactly why he was here. Emily's mother whispered her name. Sweetheart, remember what you told me. Remember what you told the nice lady. Just be brave. Emily didn't answer. Her tiny fingers tightened around the stuffed rabbit instead. The judge leaned forward. Emily, his voice softened into something closer to a grandfather than a court authority. You don't have to be scared. I just want you to tell the truth. Can you do that for me? She blinked once. Then she nodded. It shouldn't have meant anything. She was a toddler. She should have been babbling nonsense. She should have been distracted by the echo of the room or fascinated with the shiny badge on the guard's chest. But Emily wasn't distracted. Emily was focused. Too focused. The room watched her with the kind of attention normally only life-or-death situations earned. "Sweetheart," the prosecutor said softly, walking closer but crouching low so he didn't tower over her. "Do you see the dog?" Emily slowly turned her head. Her gaze fixed onto Tyson like a lock clicking shut. The courtroom isn't supposed to feel emotion, but it did in that moment. It felt like the building itself took a breath. Tyson didn't bark, didn't move, didn't even blink. They just stared at each other. A child, a police dog, two beings without the ability to explain the complicated language of fear, trauma, memory. Yet somehow both seemed to understand more than anyone else in the room. Emily's lips parted. Her mother held her breath. Tyson's tail didn't wag. His handler shifted. The judge leaned forward further, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. And then, very slowly, with a tiny trembling hand, Emily lifted her arm. She pointed directly at Tyson. Gasps rippled across the courtroom like a wave hitting shore. Cameras clicked faster. Reporters leaned so far forward it looked like they might fall off their seats. The defense rolled his eyes. "Children point at everything," he whispered sharply. But even he didn't sound like he believed himself. Because this wasn't a playful point. This wasn't curiosity. This was accusation. Emily's hand shook not from uncertainty, but from emotion too big for her small body. Her eyes glistened, not from tears, from memory. She swallowed. Her lips trembled. And then, with a voice so small yet heavy enough to crush the silence completely, she spoke. 2 words. Just 2. But they didn't sound like a toddler's innocent rambling. They sounded like truth, finally dragging itself into the light. "He remembers." The words floated in the air, then crashed. The gallery reacted before anyone could control it. What did she say? Did she say remembers? What does that mean? How could a dog? The judge slammed his gavel. Silence in the courtroom. But even his booming command couldn't quiet what the sentence had already done. Tyson stiffened. His breath hitched. His head slowly lowered, eyes never leaving the child. And then something no one expected happened. The heroic dog. The disciplined K9. The fearless police symbol. Let out a low, broken whine. Not aggressive. Not threatening. A sound like pain, like guilt, like a memory he couldn't bury anymore. His handler tightened the leash instantly. "Tyson, heel." But Tyson didn't heel. Didn't obey. Didn't listen. Because at that moment, he wasn't a trained weapon. He was a witness. Emily didn't blink. She didn't flinch. She stared back with heartbreak too pure to fake, like she was staring into the eyes of a creature that, just like her, had lived something that never left. "He remembers," she repeated softly. The defense stood abruptly. "Objection, this is ridiculous. There is no legal weight to." The judge didn't look at him. Because his attention, along with everyone else's, stayed locked on the strangest, most unsettling thing that could have possibly happened in a courtroom. A child claiming a dog remembered the truth. And the dog behaving like he did. The handler swallowed. Sweat slipped down his neck. For the first time since entering the courtroom, he wasn't composed. Because he wasn't scared of the court. He wasn't scared of the judge. He wasn't scared of the lawyers. He was scared of what might finally be spoken out loud. Across the room, one man shifted uncomfortably. One witness. Eyes darting. Breathing fast. Because suddenly, it didn't feel like a case anymore. It felt like a secret unraveling. Emily's finger remained pointed. Her tiny voice lingered like a haunting echo. And as the room sat frozen between disbelief and dawning horror, Tyson finally lowered his head and began backing away. From what? No one knew, but everyone felt the same chilling realization spreading through the courtroom. Whatever was hidden, whatever everyone thought was buried, was about to come out. But no one, not even the judge, was prepared for what would happen next. The courtroom trembled with a tension that no one could name. Tyson, the once unshakable K-9 hero, had backed away from his handler, low growl rumbling in his chest, muscles coiled like springs. Every eye followed the dog's movement, hearts hammering as though they knew something terrible was waiting. Emily's mother reached for her daughter's hand, but the girl pulled away. She didn't need comfort. She needed to be heard. 3 years old and already carrying a weight that no adult should have to bear. He remembers, she repeated, louder this time, voice trembling yet resolute. The words echoed off the tall wooden panels, bouncing back to everyone as if the building itself was listening. Officer Reynolds tightened his grip on Tyson's leash, knuckles white enough to leave marks. "Heel, sit," he barked. The commands were sharp, practiced, the kind that usually bent a dog to human will instantly. But not today. Tyson's ears pinned back. He didn't move toward the handler. He didn't obey. His gaze remained locked on Emily, wide and anxious. The prosecutor, a tall woman with a reputation for meticulous precision, stepped forward cautiously. She had never dealt with anything like this. "Your Honor," she said, her voice steady but her eyes betraying unease, "with permission, I'd like to ask the child to explain what she means." The judge blinked. He'd presided over hundreds of cases. He had seen perjury, threats, high-profile crimes. He had never ever considered allowing a 3-year-old to testify unprompted in such a dramatic way. But he saw the truth in her eyes. Something was there, something undeniable. "Very well," he said, "proceed." Emily didn't move. She didn't need to. Everyone leaned forward in their seats as she lifted her stuffed rabbit slightly, a gesture that seemed more ritual than habit. Her tiny lips parted and her voice, barely audible at first, carried a weight no toddler should command. They hurt people," she said. A hush fell over the room. Even reporters paused mid-note, pens hovering. The words were simple, innocent, childlike, but the meaning was horrifying. "Who hurt people, Emily?" the prosecutor asked softly, kneeling down to her level. Emily looked toward Tyson, who now had a low, trembling growl slipping through his throat. Then she looked at a man seated at the witness stand. The man had been calm all morning, carefully rehearsed his testimony, adjusted his tie 100 times. But now his hands were tight in his lap, jaw clenching so hard veins pulsed in his neck. He did it," Emily whispered, "and he made Tyson watch." The courtroom went still. The judge's gavel shook in his hand, but he didn't bang it. Nobody wanted to break the fragile tension, like shattering a soap bubble would release something dangerous inside. Tyson whined again, low and mournful, pressing his front paws to the floor, eyes darting to the witness, then back to Emily. It wasn't a dog's confusion anymore. It was recognition. It was fear. It was memory. The defense attorney finally found his voice, panicked and defensive. "Your Honor, this is absurd. Children lie. Dogs are animals. This isn't about imagination," the prosecutor interrupted, her voice cold and precise. "This is about fact. Witnesses can't lie if they were too afraid to speak. Dogs don't lie. And toddlers, sometimes, they see what adults refuse to notice." Sweat pricked the back of Officer Reynolds' neck. He shifted on his feet, feeling the weight of the room's gaze pressing down on him. Tyson, once trained to obey every command, now resisted instinctively, ears flicking toward Emily like he was afraid of punishment for speaking the truth. The judge cleared his throat, voice echoing over the courtroom's silence. "Emily, can you tell us what you saw?" Emily inhaled. Her small chest rose, trembling with a depth of fear and memory that no one could have imagined. She paused, then said, with every ounce of clarity her little voice could hold. "They were together. They hurt people. Tyson saw everything. He remembers." Her words pierced the room like a bullet. The witness at the stand turned pale. The defense attorney swallowed audibly. The prosecutor's eyes widened as she jotted down notes, trying to catch every nuance before it disappeared. Tyson's growl grew louder, trembling in his chest, his body taut as if straining against invisible chains. The handler barked commands again, louder this time, desperation rising in his tone. "Sit, sit now." Tyson froze mid-step. Then, as if torn between obedience and instinct, he bolted sideways toward the side exit, away from everyone, ears pinned back, teeth bared in warning. Gasps erupted throughout the courtroom. Cameras captured the chaos as Emily's mother clutched her daughter, whispering, "It's okay, sweetheart." But Emily didn't flinch. Tyson stopped suddenly, facing the witness. The dog's growl became a bark, sharp, urgent, a sound that wasn't aggression but accusation. The witness froze, his eyes widened. He tried to maintain control, tried to smile, tried to laugh it off. But the bark cut through all pretense. Tyson's gaze locked on him, unblinking, unwavering. "He remembers," Emily repeated again, this time louder, more certain. The words were a hammer pounding into the consciousness of everyone present. Tyson barked again, short, controlled, clear. Every muscle in his body told the same story: warning, recognition, truth. The judge, struggling to maintain composure, slammed his gavel for attention. "Order in the court." His voice trembled despite his best effort, but the command fell flat. No one moved. No one breathed. All eyes were fixed on the 3-year-old girl and the dog whose instincts had suddenly overridden every year of training. Officer Reynolds dropped the leash slightly, realizing Tyson was no longer following orders. The dog had chosen something more important than obedience: the truth. The witness's hands shook visibly. He swallowed hard, lips moving in silent prayers. His calm demeanor had vanished. He knew, everyone in the room now knew, that the story was unraveling. The carefully built layers of lies, of controlled narratives, of hidden acts of violence were coming apart. The defense attorney whispered frantically to his client, "You need to say something. Deny it." But the witness couldn't. He couldn't meet Emily's eyes. He couldn't meet Tyson's. He couldn't meet the quiet storm of innocence and memory staring him down. Emily pointed again, finger trembling, voice barely a whisper. "He remembers, and he saw everything." Tyson whined again, low and mournful. The dog's eyes were impossibly expressive, full of terror, guilt, and understanding. And then, as if the invisible weight of the room's tension had finally broken him, Tyson lunged slightly toward the witness, not in attack, but in warning. The gallery erupted in chaos. Cameras clicked uncontrollably. Lawyers shouted over each other. Officers scrambled to regain control. But Emily sat perfectly still, her gaze fixed, unwavering like the calm eye of a storm. The judge rose from his chair, voice booming but shaky. "Order, we will have order." But even he knew it was impossible. The courtroom had shifted. The rules no longer applied. The laws of man had no power over what was happening in front of them. Emily's 2 words had done something unimaginable. They had broken through layers of deceit, stripped away false bravado, and exposed a truth that no adult dared speak. The room waited, hearts pounding, as Tyson's growl rose into a warning bark once more, and Emily, the 3-year-old girl who had been silent until now, whispered again. "They hurt people," she said, her small voice a hammer striking steel. The room fell silent. The air seemed to thicken, heavy with disbelief. All eyes turned toward the witness. All hands clutched pens, notes, papers. Nothing mattered anymore. Everyone knew the next moment would decide everything. Tyson's paws trembled, his hackles raised, his gaze unrelenting. The handler's grip on the leash loosened slightly, realizing he no longer had control. And for the first time that morning, fear spread through the courtroom like wildfire. Because everyone understood one undeniable truth. The child and the dog were about to reveal everything. And no one would be able to stop it. The courtroom seemed to shrink, walls closing in with the weight of what was unfolding. Every person inside felt it. The world had shifted in a way no one could have predicted. A 3-year-old girl and a police dog were unraveling carefully constructed lies in front of dozens of witnesses, reporters, and officers. The witness at the stand, a man in his mid-40s with an otherwise calm demeanor, began to fidget. His fingers twisted in his lap, then clenched into tight fists. He had rehearsed this morning 100 times. Every possible question, every carefully calculated lie, every rehearsed expression of disbelief. But he had not rehearsed a toddler pointing at his soul and speaking the truth. Emily's tiny finger remained raised, trembling slightly, but steady. She hadn't wavered. Her large brown eyes bore into the man like she could see through layers of lies, straight into the memories he wanted buried. Tyson, the German shepherd, growled low in his throat, a sound that reverberated in the wooden walls. His ears were pinned back, muscles tense, eyes wide and unnervingly intelligent. He wasn't a weapon anymore, not to the public, not to his handler. He was a witness. Officer Reynolds' jaw tightened. He barked, "Tyson, heel." But the dog ignored him, ignored the commands, ignored the years of training and the authority of the law. The prosecutor, sensing the breakthrough, knelt again in front of Emily, careful to keep her tone soft. "Emily," she whispered, "can you tell us what happened?" Emily didn't speak immediately. She glanced down at her stuffed rabbit, hugged it tightly, then looked up again. Her lips trembled, but the voice that emerged carried the weight of something far beyond her years. They hurt people. Tyson saw. He saw everything," she said. The courtroom froze. Her words were simple, but each syllable landed like a hammer striking steel. The judge's gavel hovered in midair, forgotten, as the spectators and lawyers alike realized this was no ordinary testimony. The witness' face went pale. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, glistening under the harsh courtroom lights. He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. For the first time that day, he was paralyzed. Tyson's growl rose into a low, threatening bark. His body stiffened. He took a careful step toward the witness, every muscle taut with warning. Emily tilted her head slightly, studying the man as if she were reading a book written in a language no one else could understand. "He was there," she whispered. "They were together." The words hit like lightning. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Reporters began frantically scribbling, snapping photos, whispering to each other. Officers shifted nervously. Even the judge seemed to hesitate, unsure of how to proceed. The defense attorney leapt to his feet, panic threading his voice. "Your Honor, this is absurd. The child is imagining things. Dogs cannot remember events in the way." The prosecutor cut him off sharply. "Your Honor, the behavior we're witnessing is consistent with a dog that has experienced trauma. The child is recounting her observations from the night of the incident. We are not speculating. We are witnessing evidence unfold before us." Officer Reynolds' knuckles whitened as he gripped Tyson's leash, desperately trying to regain control. But the dog resisted, leaning toward the witness, snarling softly, a dangerous mixture of fear and recognition. Every officer in the room instinctively stepped back, knowing instinctively that Tyson's reaction was not to be taken lightly. Emily's mother whispered urgently, trying to ground her daughter. "Sweetheart, it's okay. Just tell the truth." Emily nodded slightly, then raised her voice again. "He hurt people. Tyson saw, he remembers, and he's scared." The witness tried to compose himself. "That's nonsense," he stammered, voice shaking despite his efforts. "A child, a dog, this is ridiculous. I don't know what you think you saw." Tyson's bark cut through the courtroom, louder this time, more insistent. He took a step closer to the witness, teeth bared just enough to warn, not attack. His eyes were fixed on the man like a predator that understood guilt in a human's very soul. Emily's finger remained pointed, unwavering. Her eyes sparkled with a mixture of fear and determination. "He's lying. Tyson knows. He remembers." The gallery erupted. Some gasped audibly. Some whispered frantically. Cameras clicked non-stop, capturing the tension, the fear, the impossible reality of a toddler and a dog commanding a room filled with adults. The judge slammed the gavel, his voice booming. "Order, order in the courtroom." But the room didn't obey. Not fully. Not when the two most important witnesses, one of them a 3-year-old, the other a German shepherd, were defying every expectation of behavior, logic, and authority. Officer Reynolds stepped forward, his voice sharp and desperate. "Tyson, heel now." Tyson froze, tail stiff, ears flattened, and then, in a move that made the entire courtroom lean forward involuntarily, the dog bolted sideways. Not toward the exit, not toward chaos, but directly toward the witness. He stopped a few feet away, muscles coiled like a spring, low growl vibrating in his chest. The witness' hands shook visibly. His face drained of color, lips pale. For the first time, he looked entirely unprotected, entirely human, entirely vulnerable. Emily repeated, "He was there and Tyson saw everything." Her tiny voice cut through the tension like a knife. She didn't cry. She didn't whimper. She stated the truth plainly, simply, like it was obvious, because to her it was. The defense attorney whispered frantically, "Say something, deny it, anything." But the witness couldn't. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His rehearsed lies had failed him. The child had seen too much. The dog had remembered too much. The courtroom held its collective breath as everyone realized the trial had shifted from law to reckoning. The prosecutor, sensing an opening, moved carefully toward the witness. "Sir," she said softly, "Tyson is reacting because he remembers. Emily has confirmed what we already suspected. Tell the truth now, before the evidence becomes impossible to ignore." Tyson barked again, short, sharp, demanding. A warning. A memory unleashed. The dog's eyes bore into the witness as though reading every secret he tried to hide. Emily's mother clutched her daughter, whispering a mix of fear and pride. "She's brave," she said. "So brave." Emily's small voice cut through again. "He's scared. Tyson remembers. They did bad things, he knows." The witness' composure broke. He gasped, sweat rolling down his temples. I don't know what." Tyson's bark grew louder, urgent, insistent. He lunged slightly, teeth bared just enough to terrify without harm, a living instrument of truth. The handler tried to step between them, but even he hesitated. Tyson had made his choice. The judge's gavel shook in his hands. "Order, order in this court." But for the first time, he realized his authority was powerless. The child had spoken. The dog had reacted. The truth was no longer a secret. The room was silent, hanging on the precipice of revelation. Every person, from reporters to officers, from lawyers to jurors, understood that what happened next could change everything. Emily's finger stayed raised. Her voice, small but clear, repeated the words that would haunt the witness forever. "He remembers, and he saw everything." Tyson growled again, the sound vibrating through the floorboards and walls. The dog's eyes never left the man. The witness swallowed, realizing that every lie, every deception, every crime that had been hidden was now exposed to the light. For the first time, the courtroom didn't feel like a place of law. It felt like a place of judgment. And outside, the world waited to see what would happen when the truth, spoken by a child and witnessed by a dog, could no longer be denied. The courtroom hung in a suffocating silence, each heartbeat echoing like a drum of warning. The 3-year-old girl and the German shepherd had rewritten the rules of the room, creating a tension that no judge, lawyer, or officer had ever faced. Emily Carter didn't flinch. She stared at the witness, unwavering, her small hand still pointing with unwavering conviction. Her lips trembled as she hugged her stuffed rabbit tighter, but her voice came out clear, deliberate, and terrifying in its accuracy. "They were together," she said. "They did bad things. Tyson saw everything." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Cameras clicked non-stop. The defense attorney's face turned pale. He whispered frantically to the witness, "Deny it. Just deny it. Say she's wrong." But the man's hands trembled on the stand. Beads of sweat ran down his temple. His carefully constructed composure, the polished veneer of innocence he had rehearsed for months, crumbled under the gaze of a toddler and a dog. Officer Reynolds tightened his grip on Tyson's leash, but it was useless. The dog's entire body vibrated with tension, growling low, every muscle coiled like a spring. Tyson's eyes, dark and intelligent, never left the man. They held him captive more effectively than any handcuff ever could. The judge, trying to restore order, banged his gavel. "Silence!" But even his booming voice seemed inadequate. The room had shifted from courtroom procedure to something far more primal, truth versus deceit. Emily inhaled, steadying herself. She didn't look at the judge or the lawyers. She didn't even glance at the spectators. Her gaze remained fixed on the witness, the man who had made her live a nightmare she should never have endured. They hurt people," she said. "Tyson saw, he remembers." Tyson barked sharply, teeth bared, not in aggression but in warning. His tail stiffened, his hackles raised. He took a careful step toward the witness, growling low and threatening. The man flinched as though the dog's gaze could pierce his very soul. The prosecutor leaned down closer to Emily, her voice gentle. "Can you tell us what happened?" Emily nodded, hugging her rabbit even tighter. They made Tyson watch. He saw everything." The courtroom shuddered. The words were simple, innocent in tone, yet devastating in implication. The witness opened his mouth, trying to muster a response. I don't know what you." But Emily cut him off. Her tiny finger jabbed again. "You did it, and Tyson knows." A shiver ran through the gallery. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. The defense attorney's face turned red, veins bulging in his forehead. He whispered furiously to his client, but the man no longer had any answers. He had nothing left. Tyson's growl deepened, low and resonant. His body quivered as though he were holding back a torrent of memory too heavy for a dog to carry. Then, suddenly, he barked again, short, explosive, undeniable. The sound reverberated across the wooden panels, and every adult in the room instinctively leaned back. Emily's voice rose. "He hurt people. He made Tyson see. He remembers." The judge banged his gavel again, trying to regain control. "Order! I said order in this courtroom." But order no longer mattered. Truth had taken the stage. Officer Reynolds stepped forward, pulling on the leash, trying to redirect Tyson. "Heel, sit, now." But Tyson refused. His body was rigid, ears pinned, eyes flashing warning at the witness. The K-9 who had once been obedient now defied his handler with purpose. The witness' hands shook uncontrollably. His carefully rehearsed narrative had collapsed. His calm, rehearsed testimony was gone. Now all that remained was panic, and he knew it. Emily pointed at him again. He knows everything." The courtroom gasped. Murmurs rose like wildfire. Reporters leaned forward, scribbling furiously, snapping photos, capturing a story that was becoming more unbelievable by the second. The prosecutor rose from her crouched position, voice low but firm. "Sir," she said, addressing the witness, "Tyson is behaving this way because he has witnessed something you can no longer hide. The child has spoken truth. You must tell the truth now, before it is undeniable to everyone present." Tyson barked again, louder, sharper, his eyes locking on the man like a predator detecting prey. The dog's body tensed, ready to spring. Every movement screamed warning, every growl echoed fear and recognition. The witness' face drained of color. His lips quivered. He opened his mouth to deny it, but no words came out. His rehearsed lies had failed him. The truth had a champion in a 3-year-old girl and a German shepherd. Emily's mother whispered, trembling, "You're so brave, baby, so brave." Emily inhaled deeply, her voice rising. He made Tyson watch. He hurt people. And now he's scared. The words landed like a hammer blow. The judge leaned forward, gavel poised, but even he could feel the courtroom's fragile tension. Every person in the room understood that the trial had shifted from law to revelation. Tyson barked again, closer this time. Officer Reynolds took a cautious step toward the dog, but it was clear Tyson had chosen. The dog would not obey any command until the truth was acknowledged. The witness' hands flew to his face. He whispered, shaking, "No, you don't understand." Emily's small voice cut through, clear and insistent. "I understand. Tyson understands. You hurt people. And now everyone knows." The courtroom erupted into chaos. Officers moved to restrain the witness. Cameras clicked nonstop, and murmurs became shouts. But Emily remained still, unwavering, clutching her rabbit like a shield, her eyes locked on the man who had tried to hide the truth. Tyson's growl rose into a full bark, resonant and commanding. He moved a step closer, nose twitching, body quivering with the weight of memory and fear. The witness' knees buckled. His rehearsed composure shattered. Sweat poured down his temples and he collapsed into his chair, hands shaking, eyes wide in terror. Emily's voice was soft now, almost a whisper, but it carried the power of certainty. "He remembers, and he can't lie." The judge leaned back in his chair, breathing heavily. He realized the courtroom was no longer a courtroom. It was a stage where innocence and truth had conquered fear and deception. Officer Reynolds finally released the leash slightly, acknowledging the reality. Tyson would not obey until the truth was confronted. And in that moment, as cameras flashed and spectators whispered, one chilling realization spread through the room. The nightmare Emily had endured, the trauma Tyson had witnessed, and the lies the witness had carefully constructed for years were all about to be exposed. No one knew exactly what would happen next. But everyone understood one thing. This trial had become something far larger than law. It had become justice. And justice was unstoppable. The courtroom felt smaller, tighter, suffocating under the weight of what was unfolding. Every eye was fixed on a 3-year-old girl and a German shepherd, one speaking in the language of innocence, the other in the language of memory. Together, they were unraveling a truth no adult could contain. Emily Carter clutched her stuffed rabbit so tightly that its single ear bent unnaturally. Her small fingers trembled slightly, but her eyes were sharp, unwavering. She had seen too much, remembered too much, and today the world was finally listening. They hurt people," she said, voice soft but carrying enough authority to stop conversations mid-word. And Tyson saw everything. Tyson growled low, muscles taut like drawn bowstrings. His eyes never left the witness, a man who had spent years perfecting the art of control. Now all his careful facades had crumbled. The dog's growl wasn't aggression, it was warning, recognition, and memory, all rolled into one. The witness' face drained of color. He adjusted his tie nervously, swallowing hard, realizing that all the rehearsed words, all the practiced calm, meant nothing now. His eyes darted to the door, to the gallery, anywhere but Emily and Tyson. But there was no escape. Emily's tiny voice rose. He made Tyson watch everything, and now he's scared. The courtroom froze. Officers instinctively tightened their stance. Reporters leaned forward, capturing every flicker of movement, every syllable, knowing that history was being written in real time. Cameras clicked, microphones trembled, and pens hovered midair, unable to keep up with the unfolding drama. The defense attorney hissed under his breath, "This is absurd. The child can't testify to." The prosecutor cut him off sharply, kneeling before Emily. This isn't imagination, it's observation, it's memory, and the dog confirms it. Tyson barked again, short and sharp, a warning that vibrated through the floorboards. He took a slow, deliberate step toward the witness, teeth bared just enough to send a clear signal. Truth had been breached, and it could not be hidden. Emily lifted her head slightly, and in a voice steadier than any adult might have managed, she said, "He was there. He hurt people. Tyson saw, and now he's afraid." The witness' hands flew to his face. Sweat rolled down his forehead. His knees shook. Every carefully rehearsed lie he had prepared for months evaporated in an instant. The room could feel it, the fragility of his composure, the way his guilt pressed on him like a weight too heavy for human shoulders. Officer Reynolds pulled on the leash, but Tyson resisted. The dog's body quivered with tension, growling low, warning not just the witness, but everyone who dared underestimate what he had seen. His eyes were impossibly sharp, impossibly intelligent, reading the guilt in the air, tracking the lies the man couldn't speak. Emily's mother whispered from the bench, trembling, "It's okay, she's so brave, so brave." Emily didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her eyes told the story for her. Her tiny finger pointed with relentless precision and her lips parted for the final confirmation. He knows. He remembers. He can't hide it. The courtroom erupted into murmurs, then gasps. Officers shifted uncomfortably. The judge's gavel banged harshly against the desk, trying in vain to restore control. Order, silence. But even his commanding voice trembled under the weight of reality. Tyson barked again, this time louder, closer. Every muscle in his body radiated tension. He moved another step toward the witness, low growl rolling in his throat. He wasn't attacking, but he was forcing acknowledgement. Every eye in the room saw it. The dog had become a living instrument of justice. Emily leaned slightly forward, voice steady and unnervingly confident for a 3-year-old. He did it. And now Tyson remembers everything. Everyone will know. The witness' jaw dropped. He couldn't speak. His carefully cultivated calm had evaporated. Sweat streamed down his face, eyes darting nervously as if searching for an invisible escape. He opened his mouth to deny, to protest, to regain control, but nothing came out. He was frozen in terror, staring at a toddler and a dog who had more courage and truth in a single heartbeat than he had in years of calculated deception. The prosecutor's voice cut through, low and unwavering. "Sir, Tyson is responding to the events he witnessed. The child has spoken. You cannot deny what they both know. It's time to tell the truth." Tyson barked again, more insistent this time, each sound slicing through the courtroom like a warning bell. His eyes blazed, fixed on the witness, and every movement in his body screamed one message. The truth is out and it cannot be avoided. Emily's voice rang out, small yet precise. He saw everything, he remembers, and now he's afraid. The judge leaned forward, gavel poised. His knuckles were white. The courtroom was no longer a courtroom. It had become a stage where innocence, memory, and the unyielding force of truth confronted deceit, and the results were catastrophic. The witness finally lost control. His hands flew to his face. His knees buckled. He stammered, voice cracking under the weight of exposure. I didn't." Tyson growled again, taking another step forward, stiff and menacing, yet careful. It wasn't a dog protecting a human. It was a dog demanding accountability, insisting that the lies end. Emily's mother whispered, trembling, "She's so brave, so strong." Emily tilted her head slightly, tiny voice rising with unshakable certainty. "He hurt people, and now everyone will know." The courtroom went still. Officers froze. Reporters paused mid-click. Every person in the room knew that the witness could no longer control the narrative. His lies were unraveling in real time, exposed by the smallest, most innocent voices. Officer Reynolds pulled on the leash again, panic in his eyes, but Tyson resisted. His entire body coiled with tension. He wasn't just a dog, He was a witness, a protector of truth. Emily's tiny finger jabbed at the witness once more. "He knows," she said, voice trembling slightly but sharp. "Tyson remembers. He can't hide it. He's afraid." The witness' face went pale. The defense attorney whispered frantically, but it was too late. The room had already turned. The trial was no longer about the law. It was about revelation, exposure, and justice. Tyson barked again, loud, commanding, unignorable. Every muscle in his body trembled with the intensity of memory. Emily's voice rose once more. "He saw everything. Tyson remembers, and now he's scared." The courtroom didn't move. Nobody spoke. The only sounds were Tyson's growls, the clicking of cameras, and the labored breathing of a man who finally understood that he could no longer escape what the truth demanded. For the first time, the courtroom wasn't just observing, it was witnessing. And what they were witnessing would change everything. Because when innocence speaks and memory responds, lies crumble and justice, unstoppable and terrifying, takes its place. The courtroom's air felt electric, thick with tension like the calm before a hurricane. Every person inside held their breath, sensing that the walls of deception were about to crumble. 3-year-old Emily Carter and a German shepherd named Tyson were no longer mere participants. They were forces of truth, unyielding, undeniable. Emily's finger remained pointed at the witness, small but commanding, while Tyson's growls and low barks reverberated through the wood-paneled room. Each sound was a pulse, a warning, a call for accountability that no one could ignore. Officer Reynolds' knuckles were white on the leash. He tugged, snapped commands, tried to restore order, but Tyson refused. The dog's body was taut, his ears pinned back, tail stiff, eyes fixed with an intelligence that seemed almost human. It was clear. Tyson would not obey until the truth was acknowledged. The witness, the man who had thought himself untouchable, trembled visibly. Sweat rolled down his face, and his hands shook so violently he could barely hold the water glass before him. Every carefully rehearsed lie, every calculated smile, every polished expression of calm had dissolved in the gaze of a toddler and a dog. Emily's mother whispered, voice trembling, "Sweetheart, it's okay, just tell the truth." Emily didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her eyes were already speaking for her, clear, steady, and terrifyingly accurate. The prosecutor leaned closer, kneeling so she could meet Emily's gaze. "Emily," she said softly, "can you tell us what happened that night?" Emily inhaled slowly, steadying herself, gripping her rabbit tighter. They hurt people," she whispered, "and they made Tyson watch." The courtroom went deathly silent. Even the defense attorney, who had been muttering nervously, froze mid-word. Reporters leaned forward, pens suspended in the air. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. The judge's gavel hovered in midair, forgotten, because no authority could override what was happening now. Tyson growled low, a sound that vibrated through the floorboards and into the bones of everyone present. His hackles were raised. Every muscle in his body coiled as if ready to strike, yet he did not move toward anyone except the witness. It was not aggression, it was recognition. It was memory. It was justice manifest. Emily's voice grew stronger, firmer. He was there, he hurt people, Tyson saw, and now he's scared. The witness gasped, trying to regain composure. This is ridiculous," he stammered, voice cracking. "A child, a dog, this is nonsense." Tyson barked again, sharper this time, each sound a thunderclap of warning. He stepped closer, teeth bared just enough to intimidate. His eyes burned with the knowledge of what had happened, and the witness flinched. Emily raised her voice further. "He's lying, Tyson knows, he remembers everything." A murmur ran through the gallery. Cameras clicked non-stop. Spectators exchanged frantic whispers. Officers instinctively positioned themselves between the witness and the dog, unsure how to respond. The defense attorney's face was red with panic, hands trembling as he whispered desperately to his client. The judge banged his gavel, voice booming. "Order, order in the courtroom." But the order had no effect. The courtroom had transformed from a place of law to a stage where innocence, memory, and the relentless pursuit of truth dominated. Emily leaned slightly forward, eyes locked on the witness. He hurt people, and Tyson saw everything. Everyone will know now. Tyson barked again, louder, more insistent, vibrating with energy that felt almost human. He moved a step closer, muscles taut, low growl rolling from his throat. The witness, hands flew to his face. His knees buckled slightly, realizing for the first time that he could no longer control the narrative. The prosecutor, sensing the tipping point, stepped closer to the witness. Her voice was calm but firm. "Sir, Tyson is responding because he witnessed events you can no longer deny. The child has spoken. You have one chance. Tell the truth." The witness' lips trembled. He tried to speak, but all that came out was a broken whisper. I do." Emily's mother's eyes filled with tears. "She's so brave, my little girl." Emily inhaled, gripping her rabbit, and her voice rang out across the courtroom. "He hurt people. And now he's afraid. Tyson remembers everything." Tyson's bark was deafening in contrast to Emily's small frame. The dog took another step toward the witness, body trembling, eyes locked in an unwavering warning. Officers instinctively stepped back, aware that this was no ordinary situation. The K-9, who had been a trained, obedient officer, now carried the weight of truth and memory. The witness tried again to speak, stammering, voice quivering uncontrollably. I didn't, it was." Tyson growled again, louder, more commanding. Every muscle in his body radiated tension. He was not just a dog. He was a sentinel, a living witness to crimes that had been hidden for too long. Emily's voice rose, clear and unwavering. "He knows. Tyson saw everything. He can't lie. Everyone will know now." The courtroom gasped. Murmurs spread like wildfire. The defense attorney whispered frantically, "You have to deny it. Say it didn't happen." But the witness' eyes were wide, frozen. He could no longer escape the truth. Sweat poured down his face. His carefully rehearsed lies had collapsed. Every lie, every deception, every attempt at control had failed in the face of innocence and memory. Emily's small hand jabbed at him again. "He did it. Tyson remembers everything. You can't hide it anymore." Tyson barked once more, short, explosive, a living instrument of justice. The dog's presence alone was enough to send a clear message. The truth could not be silenced. The judge leaned forward, knuckles white on the gavel. Even he understood. This was no longer a courtroom proceeding in the traditional sense. The trial had become something larger, something unstoppable. The witness finally broke. His knees buckled. His hands fell from his face. He choked back a sob, realizing that his carefully constructed world had collapsed. Okay, I'll tell everything." Gasps erupted. Cameras clicked frantically. The prosecutor's eyes widened. The courtroom collectively exhaled, the tension hanging thick in the air. Tyson growled low and moved closer, as if to ensure the confession was honest and complete. Emily's tiny eyes sparkled with both fear and triumph. She had done what no adult could. She had forced the truth into the light. Officer Reynolds finally relaxed his grip slightly on the leash, acknowledging the reality. Tyson was no longer under his control. The dog had chosen the side of truth, and nothing would stop him from revealing it. Emily's mother whispered, tears streaming down her face, "My brave little girl." Emily hugged her stuffed rabbit and took a small, determined step forward. "He remembers," she said, "and now everyone will know." The courtroom fell silent, waiting for the witness to speak, waiting for the truth to finally be laid bare. The tension was unbearable, the anticipation sharp like a knife, and everyone knew, without a doubt, that the revelation would change everything forever. Tyson barked again, short and commanding. The message was clear. Justice had arrived, and it would not be denied. The stage was set. The truth, unstoppable, was about to unfold. The courtroom trembled with a tension so thick it felt like the walls themselves were holding their breath. The witness, pale, shaking, finally broken, slumped forward in his chair. Every rehearsed word, every carefully calculated lie had crumbled under the gaze of a 3-year-old girl and a German shepherd. Emily Carter, clutching her stuffed rabbit, remained unmoved. Her tiny finger still pointed unwaveringly, eyes wide with the clarity of someone who had seen too much to ever forget. She didn't speak immediately. She simply watched, letting the weight of truth settle on the witness. Tyson, muscles coiled and growling low, had taken a deliberate step closer to the man. This wasn't aggression. It was accountability, judgment in its purest form. The dog's amber eyes bore into the man, unflinching, intelligent, demanding acknowledgement of the horrors he had witnessed. Officer Reynolds gripped the leash tighter, knuckles white, yet he didn't try to pull Tyson back. Even he knew this moment was beyond his control. Tyson wasn't just a dog. He was the voice of memory, of justice, of truth. The prosecutor knelt in front of Emily, voice soft but firm. "Emily, can you tell us what happened?" Emily inhaled slowly, clutching her rabbit tighter. They hurt people. Tyson saw, he remembers everything, and now he's scared." A gasp ran through the courtroom. The gallery leaned forward as though physically pulled toward the child's words. Reporters frantically scribbled notes, snapping photos. Officers shifted uneasily, sensing the moment was tipping beyond the bounds of law into something raw and undeniable. The witness' lips quivered, his hands shook uncontrollably. Okay, he stammered, voice barely audible. I'll tell everything." The courtroom erupted. Murmurs became whispers, whispers became chatter, and chatter became frantic discussion. The defense attorney's face was red, veins throbbing as he frantically whispered, "Calm down. You have to explain it carefully." But it was too late. The truth had already taken the stage. Tyson's growl deepened, vibrating through the polished wood floor. He advanced another step toward the witness, tail stiff, ears pinned back, eyes fixed and unwavering. His presence alone demanded honesty. The dog was a living lie detector, a sentinel of memory. Emily's small voice rang out, clear and commanding. "He hurt people, and Tyson saw, he remembers everything, he can't hide it." The witness' shoulders shook, tears formed in his eyes, sweat streamed down his face. It wasn't supposed to happen, we didn't mean." Emily didn't flinch. She tilted her head, eyes burning with the weight of observation. "You did it. You made Tyson watch. He remembers everything. And now, everyone will know." The judge's gavel hit the desk hard, but the sound seemed insignificant in comparison to the tension that had filled the room. He leaned forward, realizing he was witnessing something far beyond a normal trial. This wasn't about law anymore. It was about memory, truth, and justice delivered in the purest, most elemental form. Tyson barked again, short and sharp, a commanding sound that echoed in every corner of the courtroom. He stepped closer, nose twitching, body trembling with the intensity of recognition. Officers instinctively stepped back, acknowledging that this dog was no longer under anyone's control. The witness' voice cracked completely. Yes, we did it. I watched it happen. I didn't stop it. I." Emily's tiny finger jabbed at him, unwavering. "You're telling the truth now. Tyson saw everything, and now everyone will know." Tyson barked again, sharper, louder, almost triumphant. His tail stiffened, his stance commanding. The courtroom fell silent, every eye on the man whose lies had been dismantled by a child and a dog. The witness' confession spilled out uncontrollably. We hurt them. I didn't stop it. I watched. I told them to." Emily's mother clutched her daughter, tears streaming down her face. "You're so brave, so strong." Emily's tiny voice rose, unwavering. "He remembers. Tyson remembers everything. And now it's all coming out." The gallery erupted. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. The courtroom was chaos, but every moment of it was dominated by the child and the dog. They were the anchors of truth, the unwavering witnesses to horrors no one wanted to confront. Officer Reynolds finally released a bit of tension from the leash, acknowledging the truth. Tyson had chosen. The dog's loyalty was no longer to his handler, but to memory, to honesty, to justice. Every step Tyson took toward the witness was deliberate, a statement louder than any gavel or lawbook could enforce. Emily's voice cut through the chaos, small but powerful. He did it. He hurt people. Tyson remembers, and now everyone will know. The witness' body shook violently. He pressed his face into his hands, sobbing openly. I can't, I didn't, I. Tyson barked once more, a sharp, precise sound that silenced the courtroom instantly. His gaze locked on the man, unyielding. The dog didn't just see, he remembered, understood, and demanded accountability. Emily stepped forward slightly, eyes blazing with the clarity of memory. He's scared, and he should be. Tyson remembers everything. The judge leaned back, knuckles tight on the gavel. Even he understood. This wasn't a trial anymore. It was a reckoning. The truth had been delivered in its purest form by the smallest, most innocent witness in the room, and the dog had become a guardian of that truth. The courtroom waited, trembling, as the witness' confession continued to spill, every word confirming the child's account, every sentence shattered by Tyson's unrelenting presence. The defense attorney sat frozen. The prosecutor scribbled furiously. Reporters leaned forward, and officers exchanged glances that mixed disbelief with awe. Emily hugged her rabbit tightly, voice softening but still clear. Tyson saw everything. He remembers, and now everyone knows. No one can hide it. Tyson barked one final time, a resonant sound that echoed like a verdict. He stepped back slightly, his mission complete, eyes still fixed on the man who had tried to hide the truth. The courtroom fell silent. Every witness, every officer, every spectator understood the weight of the moment. A child had spoken, a dog had confirmed, lies had crumbled, justice had arrived. And in that silence, a chilling realization spread. Nothing would ever be the same. Emily's mother whispered, tears streaming, "You did it, baby, you did it." Emily's tiny fingers pressed into her rabbit, voice steady. "It's over now. Tyson remembers everything, and he won't forget." Outside the courtroom, the world waited. Cameras captured every second, broadcasted every word. The story would explode across the nation. The smallest witnesses had toppled the carefully constructed lies of a man who thought he was untouchable. Inside, the room felt heavy with awe, fear, and relief. Emily and Tyson had done what no adult could. They had forced the truth into the open, and the reckoning had begun. The trial would continue, but the narrative had already shifted. Truth had taken the stage, and it had arrived in the form of a 3-year-old girl and a German shepherd. The courtroom was a storm of disbelief, shock, and raw emotion. Silence had been shattered, replaced by the thunder of truth. Emily Carter, clutching her stuffed rabbit, stood small but resolute, eyes wide and unwavering. Tyson, muscles coiled and tense, stood by her side not as a dog but as a witness, a sentinel, a force of undeniable memory. The witness, pale and shaking, sat slumped in the stand. Tears streamed down his face, hands trembling uncontrollably. The carefully constructed facade of control, practiced lies, and rehearsed testimony had dissolved completely under the piercing clarity of a toddler's observation and a dog's memory. The judge, normally calm and commanding, leaned forward on his bench, gavel in hand but powerless in the face of what had just occurred. This is unprecedented," he murmured. His voice shook, betraying the gravity of the moment. The courtroom had become more than law, it was reckoning in its purest form. Emily's mother wept silently, gripping her daughter's shoulders. "You were so brave, baby," she whispered. Emily didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the man who had once held power over her life. She didn't need words. Her presence, her gaze, her unwavering finger, combined with Tyson's silent but commanding vigilance, told the story with clarity that no adult testimony could match. Tyson growled low, a deep, vibrating sound that rolled through the courtroom like thunder. He moved another deliberate step toward the witness, tail stiff, ears pinned back, eyes blazing with the intensity of memory. This was not aggression. It was warning, a demand for accountability. The dog's body language communicated the weight of events, a silent ledger of pain and observation that the witness could no longer ignore. The prosecutor stepped closer, voice calm but resolute. "Sir, the child has spoken. The dog has confirmed what she has seen. It is time for you to tell the truth." The witness gasped, struggling to breathe, to find words to summon courage. Yes." His voice cracked, barely audible yet carrying the weight of admission. "I was there. I watched it happen. I didn't stop it. I helped them. I did." Tyson barked sharply, short and commanding, stepping closer, forcing the confession into full clarity. Every word from the witness was punctuated by the dog's presence, a living, breathing instrument of justice that could not be silenced. Emily took a small step forward, her voice rising with unwavering certainty. "He's telling the truth. Tyson remembers everything, and now everyone knows." Gasps rippled through the gallery. Cameras clicked incessantly. Officers shifted, recognizing that they were witnessing something beyond any protocol, any training, any precedent. Reporters whispered to each other frantically, realizing they were capturing history in real time. The judge's gavel fell again, this time not as a tool of order but as acknowledgement. "The court acknowledges that the witness has confessed under pressure of undeniable evidence," he said, voice heavy with awe. "We will proceed with the necessary measures to ensure justice." Emily's mother embraced her daughter tightly, tears streaming. "You did it, baby," she whispered. "You and Tyson, you saved everyone." Emily, still clutching her rabbit, looked at Tyson. The dog's amber eyes met hers, intelligent and warm, and for a brief moment the courtroom seemed to breathe with relief alongside them. Tyson's body relaxed slightly, tail wagging, hackles lowering. The danger had passed. The truth had been revealed. The witness, face pale and body trembling, was led away by officers. His confession, coupled with Emily's testimony and Tyson's behavior, left no room for doubt. Justice had been delivered in a form no one could have anticipated. The smallest, most innocent witness, paired with a dog whose memory was sharper than any human's, had exposed years of deception and cruelty. Outside the courtroom, news crews scrambled, broadcasting the extraordinary events. The story spread like wildfire. A 3-year-old girl and a police dog had forced the confession of a dangerous criminal. Social media erupted, the hashtags trending nationwide. Emily and Tyson, toddler justice, K9 witness. People were captivated by the cinematic reality, a child and a dog standing together, unstoppable in their pursuit of truth. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere shifted from tension to awe. Jurors whispered among themselves, reporters scribbled furiously, and officers shook their heads in disbelief. Everyone understood that what had occurred would be remembered for years. Emily's mother knelt beside her daughter. "You were amazing," she said softly, voice trembling. "I've never been so proud." Emily's small hand reached for her mother, squeezing tightly before returning to clutch her rabbit. Her gaze went back to Tyson, who nuzzled her gently, protective and loyal. The judge called the courtroom to order one final time. "This case will proceed with full recognition of the testimony provided by Emily Carter and the observations of Officer Tyson. Let it be noted that the courage of a child and the memory of a K9 has unveiled the truth." Emily's tiny voice piped up, quiet but firm. "Tyson remembers everything and he won't forget." The courtroom erupted in murmurs again. The line between human and animal, innocence and experience, had blurred. People left the room understanding one simple truth: bravery and memory could topple deceit, no matter the form it took. Officers escorted the witness out, his confession echoing in the room. I saw it all. I helped. I didn't stop it. Every word confirmed Emily's account. Every word validated Tyson's instincts. Every word sealed justice. Emily's mother held her close. You and Tyson, you did it. You changed everything. Emily hugged her rabbit tightly, looking at Tyson. The dog leaned into her, warm and loyal, eyes softening as if understanding that their mission had been accomplished. Together, they had done the impossible. Outside, reporters shouted, cameras flashed, and the world waited for the next development. But inside, all that mattered was the small girl, her stuffed rabbit, and the dog who had seen too much to ever be silenced. Emily whispered softly, voice barely audible but carrying enormous weight. Everyone knows now, Tyson. Everyone knows. Tyson nudged her gently, a silent affirmation. His task was done. The truth was out. Justice, unstoppable and relentless, had been delivered. The courtroom began to empty slowly, but the story of Emily and Tyson would travel far beyond these walls. The small, cinematic miracle, a toddler pointing at a police dog and speaking 2 words, had sparked a reckoning. And the world would never forget the courage, clarity, and unbreakable bond of a child and a K-9 who refused to let lies stand. Emily's mother whispered once more, tears glistening, "You and Tyson, you saved them all." Emily hugged her rabbit tighter and looked up at the dog. Tyson nudged her again, warm and protective. And in that moment it was clear. They had done more than reveal the truth. They had become legends. The courtroom, the witness, the world outside. All would remember the day a 3-year-old girl and a police dog changed everything. Because sometimes justice comes in the smallest voices and the keenest eyes. And sometimes the world needs a toddler and a K-9 to remind everyone what truth really looks like. The end.